My guest today needs very little introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. The co founder of FletchPMM, and honestly, one of the reasons I think about positioning the way I do today. Thank you, Anthony, for influencing so many PMMs out there. Not gonna lie, having a slight fangirl moment as well.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me. Super excited to be here.
Absolutely. So the agenda of this call is basically it's not going to be a typical boring Q&A podcast. We're going to do something more interesting. So there are three segments, the hot take and hard truth. Then there is guess the ICP. And the third one is live website teardown. So I feel it will add more genuine value to the founders who are figuring it out all by themselves.
Yeah, that sounds great. Pumped for it.
Awesome. Let's get into our first segment, hot take or hard truth. I'm going to throw a few statements at you, and you got to tell me that is it something like, is it a hot take, something people would push back on, or is it something like a hard truth where no one says it quite out aloud, but it's there?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So the first one is most founders don't have a positioning problem, they have a self awareness problem. They just don't know who actually bought from them and why. Hot take or hard truth, according to you?
I would say hot take because I don't actually think that's true. I think I think they do have a positioning problem. In the work that we do with clients, they say, "Oh yeah, we have our ICP. We've picked our ICP. We know who our ICP is. Now we're just struggling to verbalize it on the homepage." And then I just start probing about the ICP, and I say, "Well, tell me about your best fit customer." And they say, "Well, it kind of depends. They're very different. They fall into a couple different buckets." And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. I thought we were talking about the ideal customer profile would be one group of people, and you just described 6 groups of people is your ICP, and they all would need different marketing strategies and different, sales decks that you would have to walk them through, and they'd be looking for different things in their product. These are just different segments. And so most of the time when you really get down to the core problem, it's that people really have not decided who they're going to position for. So to me, the real hard truth probably would be that most founders have a positioning problem and do not realize it, or really maybe they do realize it and are just unwilling to make the decision of like deciding who they're going to position for.
Awesome. Love your take on this. So, the second one is the homepage isn't a marketing asset, it's a diagnostic tool, and most companies are reading it wrong. Hot take or hot truth?
I think that's also probably a hot take because I do think it is a marketing asset. I think that to nuance it a little, I think that the homepage plays a really important role internally in the business that a lot of people don't realize. And that's really, it's a core alignment tool. In many ways, the homepage, if you think especially about the hero section, the top banner, you get one line for the headline, and then you usually have a little body, the H1, H2. And that's like the summary of the business. Like, who are we? What are we for? How do we work? How are we different? All that stuff. And so for us, we see the homepage, especially the hero, as this really powerful alignment tool to make sure, have we actually chosen a positioning strategy? Do we have a consistent set of answers? And most of the time when you read someone's website and it's extremely vague, it's because they never actually answered those hard questions. And so you end up with something that's trying to summarize across all the different teams. And it doesn't make any sense because sometimes you can't summarize these types of things. They're just different ideas. And so you kind of have to pick one over the other.
Absolutely. I think even I struggle with this with founders to make them understand why your homepage is important. Like your homepage is your first salesperson. If you come on there and you can't understand what you do, if I'm a buyer, I'm just going to drop off. So,
Totally.
yeah, absolutely. So the third one is FletchPMM has probably seen more SaaS homepages than anyone alive. And the worst ones aren't from bad companies. They're from the ones that raise the most money. Hot take or hard truth?
That's probably a hard truth because I think that is true. That's like and it's because, when you are fundraising, your loyalties are a little bit divided. The investors want bigger, more innovative, crazier, paradigm shift type stuff. And customers do not really care about that. Customers are like, well, what is this going to do for me today? And how does it work? And And so when you split the audience and founders are spending more time often with investors than they are with customers, you end up with this message that is essentially nonsense that looks great in a pitch deck when someone's explaining it, but when a customer sees it, it truly is meaningless. So I think that's probably a hard truth that most people don't want to say out loud.
Absolutely agree with you on this as well. So let's move on to the second segment, which is live website add-on. So Anthony, this is literally your territory. I feel it's called like website homepage add-on. I'll pull up a few homepages and you break it down live, like no context, nothing, just your brutal, honest opinion on it.
Sounds good.
Awesome. I'll just pull up my screen. Okay. Yes. So this is the first one.
Okay. Secure AI for enterprise IT. Moderns, and that's the name of the company, Moderns ITSM agents take tickets from request to resolution across IT, HR, legal, and finance. 50% close in 30 days, 70% by day 60, scale coverage day by day. Could you give me one more scroll? I want to see what's underneath this.
Sure.
Trusted by enterprise IT teams, replacing legacy IT SM. Okay, you can go back up. So I
Yeah.
think relatively clear in the sense that they are anchoring their whole message against one core competitor, which is these legacy ITSM platforms. So if you are in the IT world, you've probably used ServiceNow, which is in that bucket. And so they're basically making the argument you actually can replace these platforms with this new AI agent for all of your IT related stuff. I think where it could get clearer are, is that actually true? Is it a one for one replacement that you could you really swap out ServiceNow for modern? My guess is probably no. And so in reality, I think they would probably need to say more specifically, hey, these old school ITSM platforms kind of are not great in these specific areas. And then we can come in with our more modern solution and augment it and do on top of it. Because I just imagine it would be a very difficult sell for enterprises to truly rip and replace something like ServiceNow with something like modern. So I think that would be my guess, of what they probably should do and probably will end up doing if they keep trying to go to this route.
We'll move to the second one, which is pentagon.run.
All right. Stop
Yeah.
running agents, start running teams. Pentagon is a workspace for your AI employees to communicate, coordinate, and get work done as a team. So this is really interesting. This is like a message that's definitely geared towards more advanced AI users. So this is assuming people who are having multiple agents and sub agents and things like that, and are coordinating across that maybe you need to have some sort of workspace for the AI agents to communicate and do things together. Very interesting concept. I think what would make this a stronger message would be to tie this against the way that people do this today, which is probably just like all in Claude. You can, if you're in Claude code, you can have agents with sub agents. So like, and I see this, I'm like, is that what this is doing? Like, is that replacing what I would do with Claude with my sub agents and doing it in some sort of new workspace? And then I think I would need to see exactly why is this an improvement on the old way? Because if it says stop running agents, start running teams, I don't know that paradigm really captures the problem of the old way, if that makes sense, right? It's not like an immediate issue, because I don't even know that people have big issues when they have a bunch of these sub agents working. I'm not sure what the actual problem is with doing it the old way. So I think calling that out would make this a lot stronger. Maybe if you could give me one more scroll.
Yeah.
Create a map, onboard the agents. Yeah, so I think having some sort of dedicated problem statement of like, this is why it's bad to do it the old way, and this is why it's better to do it our way, I think would go a long way in clarifying the positioning.
Absolutely. I think as a buyer, this is like quite vague. The H1,
Yeah.
stop running agents, start running teams.
Yeah.
All right. Moving to the third piece, which is one of my favorite segments, which is guess the ICP. I'm going to show you a few home pages. You tell me, like, just from the messaging, who this actually is built for. Could be obvious, could be a mess. So we'll find it out together.
Awesome.
Awesome. Cool. This is the first one. Speak human to every customer.
Okay. Speak human to every customer, build and deploy voice agents that deliver the outcomes you want at the scale your customers need. I think this is like customer service agents potentially. So maybe like in the same bucket as someone like Ada, maybe. I feel like I've seen some of these types of platforms, or even Sierra could potentially do something like this. That would be my guess.
Yeah,
But yeah, not exactly sure who it's for. I think it would be helpful to know, right, if this is like for some specific type of business for some specific type of reason, or if this is just kind of if they really are going for anyone who has any customer service agents. Again, a principle in general that just makes positioning stronger is when you are clear what you are replacing or what you're augmenting or what you're improving. So I think that could help this a lot.
absolutely. I think the sub headline here also needs some work.
Yeah, deliver the outcomes you
Yes.
want is pretty vague.
Yes. It's actually into voice AI, but it's nowhere like, visible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So moving to the next one, which is Alcolia. This is the next one. Agentic generative search. Again, the AI buzzwords.
Yeah. One AI retrieval platform to power them all. That is really interesting. Can you scroll down one more?
Yeah.
Powering AI retrieval across use cases. Algolia searches. I feel like I've heard of this company. Product
Okay.
discovery. Okay, so this is more like customer facing AI search. Um, at first, my mind went to something like Glean, which is like internal enterprise search, where it's like you're
Yeah.
an employee, you work somewhere, you can type in search for it. But this is looking more like if you want to add, maybe it's like a D2C or B2C e-commerce business, you want people to be able to search the product catalog with AI, they would use this. I'm guessing as kind of like a underlying model. So again, could be a lot clearer. And I think if they were able to add in some more specifics around that, and it would just go a long way, right? So you see it and you're not just automatically trying to piece it together like kind of we did live. Again, maybe they are so
Right.
deep into the e-commerce world that everyone already has heard of them for what they were known for before that, it's like you wouldn't really have people who hadn't heard of them, but I don't know how big they are. And if I don't know Algolia already, I think I'd be pretty confused.
But I think according to you, what should be here then, like an H1?
Yeah, I think you would want to just make it clearer. Like,
Yeah.
is this AI generative search for customers browsing your catalog or something? Even something like that would just make it way clearer. Because I think AI retrieval platform is probably something that they are coining. I don't know that that's regular category parlance
Yeah.
that anyone would use. So
Yes.
if that's something they're coining, then I think they really need to be specific about something else to serve as the core reference point. And agentic generative search is probably not quite clear enough. But maybe I could be wrong. It's not my field. So I'm like, maybe people know what that is, but I don't know that phrase in that writing.
Absolutely. I think one particular competitor who does a similar thing, but they are way more clearer into how they're providing this entire shopping experience. So if they
Interesting.
are into this category, then I think something should be there around that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Moving to the third one. Yeah. Your website should be working harder than you are. Ploy is an AI platform that builds pages, runs experiments, and optimizes your site.
This feels relatively straightforward. I mean, I think where it would maybe get a little clearer is like, does this replace my CMS also? Like, would I stop using Webflow and instead use them or Squarespace or whatever it is? Is this all in one, or is this like, no, this is a bolt on to whatever your existing CMS is that will create the pages for you and things like that? But I think other than that, it feels like it's relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
Your
I
website
think even
launch
after
stopped.
you scroll
Yeah.
down. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, still not exactly sure if it's like I wouldn't use my existing one anymore and this is an augment, or if this is truly a rip and replace. I think that would help a lot.
Absolutely. What about how do you feel about the color palette and all? I think it's just too much in the eye.
You think so? I
The
mean, all
H1.
those the all caps words, really close together. It's an
Yeah.
aesthetic, I think
Yes.
That's where you get more subjective of like whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. Cool. So that was fun, the three sections. Thank you so much to break it all down so nicely.
For sure. Super fun.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Anthony, for being here. It was such an amazing session and chat session to have with you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for having me. It was a blast.